Hello and welcome. Airboats or plane boats are flat-bottomed watercraft propelled by an aircraft-type propeller. They are a very popular means of transportation in marshy and shallow areas where a boat with a submerged propeller would be impractical. Think of the Florida Everglades, Mekong Delta, Louisiana bayous, and Mesopotamian marshes. The airboat is pushed forward by a propeller which produces a rear wood prop wash. Steering is accomplished by diverting that column of air left or right as it passes across the rudders. Airboats are very fast compared to comparably sized motorboats. Stopping and reversing direction are dependent upon high operator skill, since airboats, like most boats, do not have brakes. The operator and passengers are seated in elevated seats that allows them to have visibility over swamp vegetation and can see floating objects, stumps and other submerged obstacles in the boat's path. Some true airboats, vessels that operate entirely in the water, were used by the Soviet military in World War II. These true airboats include the NKL-5, an armed boat reportedly capable of speeds of up to 60 kilometers per hour. However, most Soviet airboats are Aerosleds, which are aircraft propeller-driven amphibious vehicles best described as a hybrid of a sled, airboat and ground effect vehicle. Thousands of Aerosleds were used as cargo and passenger vehicles in Siberia, where they excelled because they could cope equally well with the icy Siberian winter and the muddy, marshy conditions when thawing snow made travel by road impossible. The first airboat, named Ugly Duckling, was invented in 1905 in Nova Scotia, Canada by Alexander Graham Bell. Brazilian aviation pioneer Santos Dumont built a similar catamaran vessel for testing an aircraft engine in 1907, which he termed a hydrofoil. French aviation pioneers, the Tellier brothers, made major steps towards modern airboats with their 1907 speedboat La Rapière II. In France, Jacques Schneider, of Schneider Trophy fame, developed and experimented with his own multi-passenger brand of airboat about 1913. In 1915, during World War I, British Army airboats were used in the Mesopotamia campaign. The first of these boats, HD-1 Ariel, was constructed using the engine and propeller of a wrecked Royal Australian Air Force Farman MF-7 biplane. Farman Aircraft, the company that built the engines for the World War I military airboats, began producing civilian airboats in the 1920s. Glenn Curtis is credited with building an airboat in 1920 for hunting in the Florida backwoods. He combined his talents in the fields of aviation and design to build the Scooter, a 6-passenger, closed-cabin, propeller-driven boat powered by an aircraft engine. Airboats began to become popular in the United States in the 1930s when they were independently built and used by a number of Florida sportspeople. Ernest and Willard Yates built an airboat in 1935 which was steered by reins attached to a wooden rudder. Yates held the ignominious honour of being the first person to die in an airboating accident when the engine dislodged and sent the spinning propeller into him. An improved airboat was invented in Utah in 1943 by Cecil Williams, Leo Young and G. Horton Jensen. Over the years, the standard design evolved through trial and error. This meant an open, flat-bottom boat with no keel and an engine mounted towards the back. The driver is seated in an elevated position with a cage to protect the propeller from limbs, branches, clothing, or wildlife from coming into contact with the whirling propeller. Modern commercially manufactured airboat hulls are made of aluminium or fiberglass. The choice of materials is determined by the type of terrain in which the vessel will be operated. Airboats intended for use in icy conditions will have sturdier, polymer-coated aluminium hulls, while airboats intended for use in marshes will have lighter fiberglass hulls. Over 75 airboat accidents happened in Florida between 2014 and 2017, resulting in 7 deaths and 102 severe injuries. Most deaths were drownings, and 90% of accident victims were not wearing life jackets, even though only 30% knew how to swim. Not wearing a seatbelt is another major predictor of injury in an accident. Being flung from a seat in a crash usually didn't end well. Safety cages do not always work perfectly. People have had their fingers sliced off by airboat propellers, and tree branches entering safety cages have wrecked airboat propellers and sprayed everyone with shrapnel. Airboats are prone to capsizing and sinking because they are top-heavy and unstable due to their shallow draft. This makes them especially dangerous on rough water. Airboats with a long belt gear reduction drive unit and an automobile engine avoid these risks because the long belt allows for the engine to be mounted inside the hull, which lowers the centre of gravity and lowers the capsizing risk. Some companies have built airboats with low centres of gravity for use in windy or rough conditions, or in rescues with obstacles like low-hanging power lines. Airboats can also be equipped with auto-inflation devices similar to car airbags or auto-inflating personal life vests, which can reduce risks. During the flooding of New Orleans following Hurricane Katrina on August 29, 2005, airboats from across the United States rescued thousands of flood victims. 30 airboats crewed by civilian volunteers evacuated over 1,100 patients and 4,000 medical personnel and family members from 4 downtown New Orleans hospitals in less than 36 hours. This so-called Cajun Navy morphed into a grassroots volunteer search and rescue organisation that has been deployed to rescue people during Hurricane Harvey, Hurricane Florence and other natural disasters. Thank you for watching.